At 34, Emily Hart had finally reached what she used to call stability. Not comfort, not luxury, just stability. A small apartment in Denver. A Honda from 2011. A job as an administrative assistant at a mid-sized logistics company. Enough money to pay bills, save a little, and breathe between paychecks. She wasn't ambitious in the loud sense of the word. Never dreamed of corner offices or fancy titles. She simply wanted a quiet life, a safe one without surprises. But life rarely asks for permission before tearing that apart. It began on a rainy Thursday morning in October. Emily was running late. Traffic was a mess. Her umbrella had broken in half on the walk from the parking lot. And somewhere between rushing out the door and dropping her keys, she realized it. Her wallet wasn't in her bag. She froze near the elevator, digging through every pocket. Nothing. She texted her boss, running 5 minutes late. Sorry. She didn't want to seem irresponsible. Not today. Not when they were preparing for an important client meeting, and she was supposed to pick up pastries and coffee for the conference room. Her heart pounded. She looked at the time. The meeting started in 23 minutes. Then she remembered something. Inside the top drawer of her desk was a company credit card, her boss's card. She used it only for official purchases, printing supplies, software subscriptions, office deliveries. She never misused it. Not once. But she stood there, drenched from the rain, no wallet. Late for an important meeting, and with her anxiety rising like water in a sinking boat. She thought, it's just coffee and pastries. I'll pay it back immediately. A harmless thought. The kind that destroys people. Emily hurried to the cafe across the street, ordered everything on the list, handed over the company card without thinking, and sprinted back to the office. The meeting went well. The clients complimented the setup. Her boss thanked her, and Emily sat at her desk feeling relieved, almost proud. She kept receipts, saved them, wrote a sticky note reminding herself to transfer the amount that evening. She told herself it would end there. But it didn't. 3 weeks later, the company was hit with a random internal audit. Emily didn't think about it. She had done nothing wrong, at least nothing she saw as wrong. Then, one morning, she found an email flagged urgent. It came from corporate compliance. Please provide documentation for all charges on the corporate credit card, dated October 12th. Her stomach twisted. She opened the folder where she kept receipts. Every purchase had a clean record, except one. The cafe receipt was gone. She searched her drawers, her email, her trash folder, her pockets. Nothing. She still had the sticky note reminding her to reimburse the company. She had even transferred the money to her boss days later. But none of that mattered without proof. She emailed compliance, explaining it was a coffee run for the client meeting, apologizing for the missing receipt, offering to resend the reimbursement confirmation. She expected a simple reply, asking for more details. Instead, she received something else, a meeting request, from compliance, from HR, from her boss. When she walked into the glass conference room the next afternoon, the look on her boss's face made her knees weaken. He wasn't angry. He was disappointed, and confused, and defensive, like someone who didn't want to be part of this, but had no choice. Compliance started the conversation with a tone Emily would never forget. Emily, we've identified an unauthorized personal charge on a company credit card. She tried to explain, tried to tell them she had forgotten her wallet, tried to mention the rain, the rush, the pressure, the responsibility to set up the meeting. But the compliance officer interrupted intent does not change classification. Personal use of corporate funds is considered misuse, regardless of reimbursement. Her chest tightened. "I didn't steal anything," she whispered. "No one said you did. But it is still a violation of company policy. We have documented procedures for emergency reimbursements, and none of them were followed." "I didn't know those procedures," she said. "That is not a defense," the officer replied. Her boss finally spoke. "Emily, why didn't you just tell me?" She didn't have an answer. Because she didn't want to inconvenience him. Because she didn't want to seem unprepared. Because she was embarrassed to admit she forgot her wallet. None of her reasons mattered now. The meeting ended with her being escorted back to her desk. She wasn't allowed to touch her computer. An HR representative stood beside her while she packed her belongings. She was let go on the spot. Termination for misuse of company property. Those words followed her like a shadow. At first, she thought it would be a simple, though painful, career setback. She assumed she could find another office job within days. She had years of experience, good references, a clean record. Except now, she didn't have a clean record. Every time she applied for a job, there was a background check. Every time a potential employer called her previous company, they repeated the same phrase: "She is not eligible for rehire." Doors closed quietly, one after another. By January, Emily was still unemployed. She had drained her savings, sold furniture, picked up temporary work through gig apps, anything to pay rent, but nothing replaced her full-time income. By March, she stopped telling friends she was looking for jobs, stopped replying to messages, stopped leaving her apartment unless necessary. One afternoon, she received another email from the company's legal department. Because the audit had escalated, they were formally documenting the misuse for record-keeping, and she might be contacted if the State Labor Board requested details. She didn't know what that meant. She didn't know if she needed a lawyer. She didn't know if she would be charged with anything. The uncertainty ate her alive. The amount she had spent, $28.46, $28.46. A mistake that cost her her job, her stability, her identity, and nearly her mental health. As the months passed, she found work again eventually, but not in an office. No one in administrative services wanted to risk hiring someone terminated for misuse of corporate assets. She now works as a part-time inventory clerk at a local warehouse, lower pay, night shifts, no benefits, no stability, no upward path. Sometimes, late at night, when she sits alone in her small apartment, she thinks back to that rainy Thursday morning. She remembers standing outside the cafe, holding the company card, telling herself, "It's just this once. I'll fix it later." The dangerous lie of small shortcuts. People imagine white-collar crimes as elaborate schemes, hidden accounts, large sums, intent to deceive. But Emily's story is a reminder that for most people, the destruction doesn't come from malice, but from a moment of weakness, a decision made under pressure, a shortcut taken because it felt harmless, a rule bent because it's easier this way. One swipe of a card, one missing receipt, one line in an audit report, and a life can collapse quietly. If Emily could go back to that morning, she wouldn't care about being late. She wouldn't care about the meeting. She wouldn't care about looking unprofessional. She would have walked into the office empty-handed and said, "I forgot my wallet." But she can't go back. And that's why her story exists, to remind anyone listening that small financial decisions made in the wrong moment can reshape everything. Not because of the money itself, but because of the rules that guard it. Emily didn't intend to harm anyone. She didn't gain from the mistake. She reimbursed the full amount. She cried over it for months. But intent didn't matter, only the record did. Today, she keeps the faded sticky note she wrote that morning taped inside a drawer. The one that said, "Repay the coffee." She calls it the most expensive reminder she'll ever own. A reminder that even a $28 purchase can cost you an entire career. And sometimes, the quietest mistakes are the ones that echo the longest.